Okay, so welcome back. You are not my employees. I am not your boss. This is a channel dedicated to business. Today we're going to take a little break from talking about resumes. Today, what I'd like to talk about is tourism and economics. We have two YouTubers that are inspiring me to make this video. This whole thing is surrounding Fun for Louie. Very popular. You should check him out and subscribe to him because I 100% support what he's trying to do. The other YouTuber that kind of commented on this is Philip DeFranco. I admire Philip DeFranco. He's actually a prime inspiration for me starting my YouTube channel in the first place. Now, what happened? Well, for those that are not familiar with Fun for Louie, he went to North Korea, also known as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or the DPRK. I actually have wanted to go to the DPRK, North Korea, for a long time. I was first inspired by documentaries produced by Vice News. Shane Smith went there. I believe he went twice, and there are documentaries that Vice produced of his trip. And then they produced a third kind of it's still a documentary, it's just shorter than the other two, when Dennis Rodman went and was invited, actually, by Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea. Kim Jong-un, for those that don't know, actually studied in Europe. He did really develop a fascination with the game of basketball. So previously, Dennis Rodman faced the same backlash that Fun for Louie is now going through. I have to comment about it because, well, here, take a look. We're putting warning labels and disclaimers now on simple travel vlogs. Are we seriously just a step away from a warning label on a toilet that says, hey, by the way, after you use me, wipe and wash your hands? Do you really need to be told this stuff? You can't think for yourself? Somebody has to think for you? Okay. Coming down, the argument against Fun for Louie and the channel, and the reason why he has to put the disclaimer on there that says basically, as you saw, please do your own research. Do you really need to be told that? The argument is, Louie, oh my goodness, you went to North Korea? How could you possibly go there? Don't you know about all the humanitarian crime that's just like the government is just oppressing its people, and families are ripped apart, entire generations are wiped off the face of the earth? Because for those of you who don't know about the horrors of North Korea, as a citizen of North Korea, if you do something wrong, they don't just punish you, they punish they have a 3-generation policy. So if I did something wrong, they're gonna grab me, they're going to grab my sister, they're going to grab my parents, and they're going to grab my grandparents, right? Because I don't have kids yet. If I have kids, they're going to grab my kids, they're going to grab me, and they're going to grab my parents for something that I did, and they're going to punish us all. And usually, when people are outraged about this, the punishment that they're talking about is prison camps or gulags, where people are tortured and abused, and just unspeakable things happen. So that's basically the argument. The argument is, how can you possibly go to a place where people are being oppressed? It's odd. There are plenty of places where people are being oppressed and people are living in horrendous conditions and the government is holding them down. There's a athletic event going on in Rio right now in South America. Have you not seen the news stories about Venezuela and what they're going through? Have you not seen the news stories about Rio itself, where these games are taking place? Have you not heard about all that? And yet, how many tourists are there right now? Are you criticizing all of them? Oh man, for every picture of an athlete competing at Rio, we should get a picture, an equal amount of time spent on the depravity and the crime and the slums, right? The Guardian, you started some of this. Is that what you're doing? For every athlete, right next to it, you're posting a picture of a starving child, right? Because I want to make sure that you're living up to your own social justice outrage. You're abiding by your own rules, right? You're not posting pictures of athletes without also posting pictures of people suffering. Come on, equality, equal time. The problem with that side of the argument, what people are saying, what Philip DeFranco specifically said, is the criticism that is very valid. Those are Philip DeFranco's words. The criticism is you didn't spend enough time, or you didn't spend any time. You didn't spend time showing the other side. And so when you do that, you paint the picture that everything is just sunshine and rainbows. The argument that Louis should have spent equal time on all of the negative aspects of North Korea assumes that he was allowed to even see. And see, my main problem, what I'd like to kind of zoom in and focus on with Philip DeFranco's videos is Philip uses the word showcase. You can't just showcase the good without also showing the bad. Phil, you're using the word showcase wrong. So, for example, in the art world, when I want a gallery to showcase my photography, let's say, right? I'm going to take all of my work, the good and the bad. Some shots are really good, some shots are really bad. Now I want to showcase my work. So what does that mean? Well, all right, here's my good work, here's my bad work. Let's not show anybody my bad work. Let's hide it. We're going to edit it out, right? You're assuming, in Louis' case, that he has bad footage, negative footage. The claim that people made, the claim that The Guardian made, Philip didn't make this claim. He did present it as an assertion, but it wasn't a criticism of his. It was just something that The Guardian and Vanity Fair were accusing Louis of doing. Louis, you were bought off. You were paid by the North Korean government. That's a huge accusation. The Guardian and Vanity Fair, I sure hope you've got some evidence that shows that happened, that money changed hands. I sure hope you've got that. As a news organization, inventing facts, kind of a no-no. The problem with that is that's a complete misunderstanding of North Korea. And I know The Guardian, Vanity Fair is a joke, and so I'm not really going to talk about any of that. That's barely a media outlet. But The Guardian, I've seen tremendous articles in The Guardian about the horrors of North Korea. So I know that there are people there that know quite a bit about North Korea, and anybody that knows anything about North Korea knows that when you go there as a tourist, you are not a tourist. Like when I went to Greece, for example, I was pretty much allowed to roam wherever I wanted. I did a land tour and I did a cruise, and on the cruise, it was just like any other cruise. We're going to go to the islands and you're going to have shore excursions, but if you don't pay for any shore excursions, then you can have free time. You can go pretty much wherever you want. General public is open. In North Korea, you have to ask permission from your tour guides. They're not really tour guides, they're guards, and you're a prisoner. You have to ask them permission to do pretty much anything. And the only free time you get is when you are walled in or fenced in, just like a prisoner. You're either in your cell, or maybe you get some yard time. The illusion of freedom. Oh yeah, Louis could have, broken away from the group at any point. Yeah, and gotten in some serious trouble. Yeah, okay. You don't know he should have. He should have done that. He should have gotten himself arrested. That's the way to do. What did you expect Louis to do? Go interview civilians? Because that's going to get the civilians in trouble just as much as it's going to get Louis. So you think the humanitarian thing that Louis should have done is gone and jeopardized not only his safety, but the safety of innocent civilians? That's your humanitarian solution? You don't see that? This is like common sense. Unfortunately, we live in the millennial generation, and literally everything has to be coddled, and 25-year-olds expect their mama to still tuck them in at night. It's okay, I don't mind if you still live at home, that's fine. But mama's not going to come tuck you in. You're going to have to kind of wean yourself eventually. The world is not all sunshine and rainbows. I think it's a great thing that Louis went. I think it's a great thing that in spite of this, in the face of all this backlash that's coming out, he's still uploading. Louis, please keep uploading. I love your stuff. The argument is Louis should do more to use his platform to bring awareness to the horrors that are going on. You want awareness? I know of a documentary. I don't have permission to use it, so I'm not going to use any of it. but I'm going to direct you to it because, as I said, I would like to travel to North Korea someday. I would like to go through a company called Koryo Tours. Almost screwed that up. They are one of the longest. It seems like they're one of the longest tour companies operating in North Korea, and most of the documentaries that I've seen, good and bad, go through them as a tour company. They seem like they know exactly what they're doing, and as long as you, as the tourist, don't do something stupid, you're going to get in and out pretty safely. So a little plug there, and I'm also going to use a little plug for a documentary, a great documentary that you should see. You want to see both sides kind of demonstrated? Okay, I have a documentary that I know of. I don't have it. I didn't make it. It's not affiliated with me in any way. But here, I'm going to present a documentary here. I'm going to recommend that you go check it out when you have about an hour to kill. It's a little less than an hour. It is absolutely fascinating. And it will give you a real crash course, even though it's an hour long, which may seem like a long time. It's a real good crash course at the intricacies of North Korea, because I know what I'm looking at when I see Louis' vlogs, and I know I can see the veil that things are hidden behind. He got pretty close. He showed the shower situation where there's no running water in the hotel. If you know a little bit about North Korea, then you know that there's a huge infrastructure problem there. And Louis showed it. So this whole argument that he didn't show enough of the bad stuff, I'm actually, frankly, surprised at how much he did show. He showed the jaywalking scene in one of his vlogs where he's being yelled at by a police officer and one of his tour guides. And they think they're crossing the street and it's jaywalking, and they think as a Westerner that's the problem. Except jaywalking's not a problem in North Korea. Nobody owns cars. Only the rich and uber powerful, see what I did there? The super powerful and rich own cars. There is no such thing as jaywalking. Everybody's walking or on a bike. And you can pretty much cross the road whenever you want, unless you're a tourist and you're going out of bounds. And that was the problem. It's not that they were jaywalking. They thought they were jaywalking because they're young and naive and Western, foreign. That wasn't the problem at all. And if you know about North Korea, you know that that's what's going on. He showed that. It's in the vlog. So what are you complaining about? There's plenty of things. They're trying to hand out skateboards. And a boy, if you watch carefully, there's an older boy. This is after Louis explains that he was told that they're not really allowed to accept, like, civilians, the citizens aren't really allowed to accept gifts because it's communism, and basically if you don't have enough to share with the community, then you're not allowed to accept personal gifts, and you're not allowed to have personal belongings. Everything is communal. And while that is true, there is actually something else that's at play too. If you know what you're looking for, if you know what you're looking at, you have to be educated a little bit, so please educate yourselves. It's not Louis' responsibility to educate you for you. An older boy, they're skateboarding. There's like a group of 6 kids, 6 boys hanging around. They look like early teens. And then an older boy who's probably like mid-teens, late teens maybe, comes up, says something in Korean, and magically they all just, okay, it's time to go, walk away. That's North Korea. The foreigners are stepping out of bounds, and we're not allowed to have interactions like this. That's essentially what the older boy is saying, and the group complies. Because if they don't, off to the gulag. Off to the prison camp. So it is you are constantly walking on eggshells. Now, Philip DeFranco brings up this mansion thing. The reason why the counterpoint is valid, that's the word he used, Philip DeFranco used, the reason why it's valid is because it's like if you were invited to a mansion where you know that people are being oppressed in some of the rooms, but then when you get to the mansion, you're only shown the pool and the game room and the bar and all these other like great things, but you know that terrible things are happening elsewhere. Then you should speak up about that. How am I supposed to show you something that wasn't shown to me? Even if you zoom out, and you say, all right, you shouldn't even travel there, which is a stupid thought. We're going to talk about that next. It makes no sense. Louis didn't edit anything. Why are you mad at Louis? Why are you mad at Louis? Hey, Phil, how come we never get to see the wall behind your camera? How come it's always this? How come you never turn the camera around and prove to me that you don't have any bodies hanging off the wall? Maybe you've got grotesque things back there. So at the end of every video, I think that you should take your camera and turn it around. That way you can show me that there's nothing back there. Because I've never seen the back. I've never seen the camera. I only see what you point the camera at. And I don't trust you. Sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? Yes. Because you've built a set for your show. And that's exactly what North Korea is. It's not a mansion. It's a set. It's a show. And you're not a tourist. You are actually in the show. You are an actor. You are an active participant. And if you go off your blocking, if you go off script, if you try to ad-lib, you will be corrected. And you will be prevented. You will be brought back on script. You will be returned to your proper blocking. I would think that entertainment people would know this. And to entertain the notion that anything else is going on in Louis' vlogs is ridiculous. The economics of it. You want to stop humanitarian crimes and horrors and atrocities from happening? Then you need more tourism. You want to stop all that? You want to fix all that? Get more tourists in there. Get more people with cameras. Get the economy dependent on something other than power-hungry restrictions. The U.S. has an embargo against North Korea. A lot of people that know about North Korea know that they do a lot of sword rattling. They're not as threatening as you think they are. They're not as powerful as you think they are. You shouldn't be as afraid of them as you are. If you want to take the government's control away, then you need to control their money. And one of the best ways to control money in a country is to control tourism. Because tourists don't want to go places where there's bodies laying all over the streets. You're going to have to clean that crap up. And then it starts getting more and more and more and more. Your tours, if you want to get more tourists, if you want to attract more, hey, this thing's working. Tourists are bringing in money and they're staying for a little bit longer. And tours that used to be 4 days are actually now being extended 7 days. And there's more money coming in. We kind of like this. Maybe we should work with more tour companies, which is in turn going to bring in more people. Maybe we should open up more areas of the country. Maybe we should have like a ski resort, which they have now. Koryo Tours has a helicopter tour around Pyongyang. Wow, that sounds great. New things, innovative things. That's a very capitalist. All of a sudden, it's starting to sound kind of capitalist, isn't it? Hey, we need to figure out how to attract more customers. Communist countries are worried about customers? Wow, that's progress. So you need more Louis in the world. So why are you trying to stifle him? Why are you shaming him? How dare you? How are you going to break down the walls? That's why North Korea got so bad in the first place. There was no technology. The only people that knew about the outside world in North Korea were people that were able to build their own radios from stolen parts, and hopefully they lived close enough to South Korea or China that they could pick up radio signals. Because there's no radio in North Korea. As far as I know, there's barely electricity. There's barely running water, which Louis showed, which you're not giving him credit for. Now, hopefully that's all. You're gonna go watch the documentary that I'm gonna link to. You're gonna go kind of educate yourself. Ideally, you're gonna apologize to Louis. Subscribe to both Louis and Philip DeFranco. I like you, Philip. I like you, man. But you're better than this. Now I'm gonna tie this up into a little bow. And it's going to be a little harsh, and that's why I had to make sure that I said that I like you, Philip, because now I'm going to call you a hypocrite. And I hope that doesn't piss you off. Remember, I like you. I did the journalist thing. I'm not a journalist. I'm a businessman, but I did some research on Louis' channel. And in April, did you know that he traveled to India? And he's got vlogs, having a good time in India. I don't remember The Guardian writing any articles about how Louis forgot to mention all the gang rapes that are happening in India and all the little girls that are getting prosecuted for reporting their rapist. I didn't hear The Guardian screaming about that. Didn't hear Vanity Fair screaming about that when Louis went to India. And then there's a more interesting one. Did you know a few weeks before he was in India? Guess where he was? Dubai. He was in Dubai. He was in the United Arab Emirates. He was in the Middle East, Dubai. I've heard a story recently about a transgender person that was detained in the Dubai airport. There was a YouTube news channel that did a story on it that kind of covered it, and they had a video. Who was that? Dubai. Louis was there. They've got slave labor. They oppress refugees. When refugees arrive in Dubai trying to flee from the violence in the Middle East, they get oppressed into slave gangs, where you are now going to build all these miraculously fantastic buildings and the tallest tower in the world, the tallest building in the world, and all these artificial islands and the rich people's houses, and they have gold vending machines. We're going to oppress you into slavery. We're going to have sexual trafficking, sex trafficking, human trafficking, forced prostitution, and then that news channel, that witch news channel. They did that story, and the presenter on that news channel was all up in arms at the time, about all the rapes that were going on there. And all of the rapists, the European women who were working for companies who had immigrated in for work, were getting raped by coworkers, and then they were getting charged with adultery for having sex out of marriage by being raped. And the presenter on this YouTube news channel, man, he was outraged. He started listing all the recent instances where women who were raped were also arrested for reporting the crimes. And he was pretty outraged. And he said something interesting.
I think that's why it's important people educate themselves about places in the world, just in general, but especially if they're going to travel there.
Oh, hey, that's very good. Play that again. Can we hear that one more time?
I think that's why it's important people educate themselves.
Okay, hey, one more time. For the people in the back.
I think that's why it's important people educate themselves.
Man, that's pretty good advice. People should do their own research instead of expecting travel vloggers to do it for them. If you want to read about the other side of North Korea, Google it. It's pretty much 99% of the information that's out there. People should do their own research on their own instead of having to have their hands held. Anyhow, I'm not your boss. You're not my employees. And we're going to get back to resumes and how to get a job and how to improve your life, because obviously a lot of you have way too much time on your hands. My problem with the debate, my problem with that side of the argument, again, backwards, damn it, I'll get it. The problem with that side of the argument